in the paper, kind of explaining some of the different things that you guys have going on and the history of the club.
Yes, we were very lucky to have this done by the newspaper, and it was in Monday, I think May 18th, I believe it was. And all the Rotarians in our club who have businesses were very generous and took ads in this so that they could support this work. And Tom Colley and Randy Deason and others worked very, very hard on putting this together and gathering information. And of course, Robert Perry was a fount of knowledge for them and gave them a wealth of information, which was in this supplement. If for some reason you missed this supplement, I think they may still have a few at the Bluefield Daily Telegraph, but it covers a lot of the history. It lists a lot, it published all of the biographies that we had of the early founders, and so people who've lived in Bluefield a long time will find this very nostalgic to look through and see
absolutely.
Photos and read about the families and the people who were not just Rotarians, but who were an integral part of the history of this town and this area. And we're very pleased with this, and it will be a keepsake. It will be one of the items that we put together with some other things we've gathered up in celebration of our 90th anniversary, and these will be placed in the archives at the local public library, the Kraft Memorial Public Library here in Bluefield, West Virginia, so that others can come and do research and look at what we've been able to pull together with the help of a whole lot of people.
And let me jump back one quick second. One of the first major things that the Rotary Club here in Bluefield did, the building that is now the West Virginian Manor, was built in 1923 by men who were all affiliated with Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club was one of the major driving forces behind that. Bill Cole, who was the grandfather of Paul Cole, was one of the driving members of that. But it was a very grand hotel. It was one of the finest in southern West Virginia or in the southwestern Virginia for many years.
All right.
Yes, and that's where Rotary met.
Yes.
Starting in 1923, I believe, for many, many years, up until fairly recent history. That was their regular meeting place. So that's a special place in the hearts of Rotarians.
Absolutely, and I know from some of the first early events that Rotary Club took part in to what they're doing now is just amazing, especially if you look at what's going on around the world and the hand that Rotarians have in all of that. We're going to get to that in just a second. We're going to have to take another quick break. We talk a little bit more about this 90th anniversary and how Rotarians are helping across the world. So we'll be right back after this. And welcome back. We've been talking about the Rotary Club here in Bluefield and what the Rotary Club does not only locally but across the world. And we were talking about the insert there, and one of the things that you pointed out when we were looking at it earlier was the aid that Rotarians have helped to give to people in Myanmar, of course, after that cyclone that hit there.
Yes. The Myanmar government, as everyone knows, would not allow so many of the aid agencies or volunteers in. But Rotary is affiliated with an international group out of England called Shelter Box, who provide, this box provides shelter, water cleaning equipment, sleeping equipment, food, anything a family would need to survive for several weeks in a disaster. And Myanmar did allow an airplane with I believe 500 of the shelter boxes on it, and there were only 4 volunteers that were allowed in the country to implement the shelter box program. 2 of those were English people and 2 were Americans. So, and they were all Rotarians. Mm-hmm. So that's a real point of pride for Rotarians everywhere. We were one of the few groups that were allowed in because Rotary has the reputation of being a non-political and certainly, as Jim pointed out earlier, having all kinds of projects and activities that work toward advocating peace.
Absolutely, and of course we were talking earlier in the show about the money that was donated to the Rotary Club by the Bill Gates Foundation to eradicate polio.
Yes, $100 million has been donated recently by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, with the stipulation that Rotary match that within the next 3 years. I don't think that'll be a problem given the generosity of Rotarians, and we are pleased that with that money, we believe that we can eradicate polio in the last 4 remaining countries that are in the world. Once it's eradicated there, it will be eradicated completely. So we look for that to happen over the next few years.
Absolutely. But talking about here in Bluefield, and this year, of course, celebrating the 90th anniversary, and you guys have some great events planned to celebrate 90 years of the Rotary Club here in Bluefield.
Yes, we started early. We started actually last year, and we developed a custom pen, a custom design pen that has a big 90 on it. We videotaped interviews with a number of long-time Rotarians that we can keep and put in the archives in the library. We, of course, helped with the development of the special newspaper tab. We've had our club president appearing on local radio and TV shows. We've been lucky enough to have the TV station and some radio stations play our professionally prepared public service announcements about Rotary. We had a resolution presented to our club president, Smokey Schott, by the city of Bluefield, recognizing Rotary's 90 years here. And we had a big celebration dinner on May 20th and had a Rotary International Director as our keynote speaker. He flew in from the Bahamas to be with us. So those are some of the things that we've done this year to celebrate.
All right, you mentioned the video biographies, and Jim, you participated in that. You had a biography.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking about, now I call it Burma. They can call it whatever they want to call it, but we were allowed in there, but there was another place that we were thrown out of, and that was Russia. And when the big wall came down and they broke all that up, among the first things that would happen there, a Rotary Club was established in Moscow. And I can't remember, of course I couldn't pronounce it, but I corresponded with the secretary of that particular club for 4, 5, 6 months.
Wow.
And they were, it's difficult for people to come from almost slavery into a free society and they were very interested in finding out how to do things and what to do. But it's just real interesting to see that happen. So in one place we were allowed in, the other place we were thrown out. But the main reason both actions were taken was because we were people of goodwill and people trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
Russians didn't want to help. But Rotary is an amazing organization. One thing I'd like to comment on, which I talked with you about just a little bit, and that is what is known as a group study exchange program. And what we do is we look for young professionals, you would qualify, who are not Rotarians, and we would send you and other people to another country for 6 weeks.
Wow.
Now the purpose in your going there was to go into all to the businesses and see how they work and do these kinds of things. We had one here from, well, I don't know, we've kept them in our homes for years, but we had some from South Africa. And the very interesting thing about that was that this young man who stayed with us for 2 or 3 nights was a metallurgical engineer for Mercedes, and he was living in South Africa. He was a black. Well, he wasn't a black. He was what they call it, colored. His wife called him while he was here to tell him that she had just received her PhD in nursing.
Wow.
But those 2 people were not allowed to have a home in an area where they had already bought a lot because of their color. And during the process, shortly thereafter, we watched the changes in South Africa, and it kind of warmed the cockles of my heart to know that this guy was going to be able to go build on his lot under the new regime. So Rotary brings all kinds of people together, and for all kinds of purposes, and it's right amazing.
Do you have any anecdotes from your time being with the Rotary here in Bluefield you want to share with us?
One which it took a bit of courage. There was a guy down here in Welch by the name of Paul Jones. He was a Rotarian. And Welch had a big Rotary club. They were doing fine. Paul believed in getting everybody together. So every summer he had a cabin across East River Mountain over in Bland County. Every summer he would invite all of, maybe 8 or 10 Rotary clubs, all the members, to come over there for a picnic. Well, this particular time, he invited us all over there, and then the next day after that, we all got dressed down in our own club. Paul Jones did not allow any drinking over there. Several of the Bluefield Rotarians went over there and got a little tipsy. Next day, you remember old man Charlie Frazier? Hey, I call him old man. He wasn't old as I am. He stood up in the Rotary Club before the program started the next day and dressed the club down for violating the rules of Paul Jones. But it was a wild one.
You guys have a great time. I want to make sure we put the web address up one more time. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you.
Very good.